This is Hugh Culver, and this is a 45-minute webinar called Confidence, 12 Ways to Build More Confidence in Just 5 Minutes. This is something that, these webinars are something that I offer about every 3 weeks as a way to reach out to the people that have connected with me over the years, a way to share information. It's also, quite frankly, a way for me to test different ideas and information on you, so you're kind of like the guinea pigs out there. But truth be told, everything that I'm going to be sharing with you is stuff that I use myself and also that I share with my clients as a keynote speaker and as someone that writes and produces a lot of content. Now already I can recognize some of the names that are signed on for today, which is awesome. We have about 300 people that have registered for the webinar today, and of course not everybody's going to be able to join in live, which is great. So you may be listening to this as a recording, and I just would remind you that if you are listening to it as a recording, one of the things that happens, certainly for me, is, man, I'm distracted with other things like driving my car or going for a run, and I just really encourage you to write something down after you listen to the recording, or pause and write something down. Or what I often do is, it's kind of hokey, but I email myself because I know that if it's in my inbox, I'm going to have a look at it. So if an idea pops into your head as you're listening to this, certainly when you're live on the call with me today or as a recording, I really encourage you to write down what you're going to do next, because I know that you're going to be busy with other things as soon as I sign off here today. Okay, let's just jump in. So it's 45 minutes. I'm going to talk about confidence. I'm going to give you 12 insights and tricks and techniques that you can use to build more confidence. I'm also going to share with you a real special offering on my Time Freedom Formula program that I think you're going to really enjoy. So I'll be sharing with that at the end when I get wrapped up at the end. So let's talk a little bit about confidence. So this is, perhaps maybe not the kind of topic that you normally think about, but I think it's one that's really important to be looking at is what is kind of underlying all of the success that I have in my life. And first of all, let's just look at, so what is the definition of confidence? Well, I went online, as we all do nowadays. I don't go to a book much anymore for definitions, and it says, the Webster's Dictionary says, the confidence is a feeling or a belief that you can do something well or succeed at something. And what that means to me is that it kind of underlies everything else that I do. In other words, I might be the smartest guy in the room, but if I don't have the confidence, it's not going to make much difference. I might be the guy that's best dressed, got the most education, got the most experience, but I don't have the confidence, it's really not going to make the most difference. Well, how is it that this shows up? Well, certainly in things where we actually can measure the results: sales, sports, career moves, negotiations. But it also shows up more subtly in times when we're in meetings and we're just discussing different options, or we're in our relationships at work or at home, in romance, and in personal care. I think it takes confidence to take care of yourself, because what it means is going out of your comfort zone and doing things that maybe aren't on the path of least resistance, like going to the gym, or actually reading a book rather than watching, TV or YouTube at night, or going to that party that you were invited to rather than sort of staying at home because it's safer. That all requires confidence. Well, here's how confidence works. Something happens. Now, in psychology, they would say that there's some kind of an occurrence or an action, but really something happens. So someone says something, you do something, you experience something, and what happens is we immediately have an emotion. We're an emotional being. That's the first thing that's going to pop up. It pops up much faster than any kind of a cognitive thought. We feel something before we think something. In sales, they always say that people first buy with emotion and then they justify it with logic. And it's the same thing when something happens in our life. So, for example, you go to a meeting and you can't remember somebody's name. Right away you feel embarrassed or you feel insecure. You go to buy something and you know that you want it at a better price, but you feel timid to ask for a discount. So you have an emotion first. And what happens then is it influences our behavior. So emotion leads to our behavior. So now I don't ask. I avoid that person because I can't remember their name, and then I get a consequence. And so this happens very, very quickly. I go from seeing something, experiencing something, reading something, watching something, to having an emotion that leads to a behavior, and then it ends up leading to a consequence. Oh, I just see we may have lost our visual on the screen, but I will we'll try and rescue that as I keep on talking. I know you'll be able to hear me, so we'll try and rescue the visual in the meantime. So what happens after a consequence? Well, what happens is we move into some kind of a belief. So again, we're just trying to rescue the visual, so hang in there and we'll see if we can get this working for you. So next is we have a consequence, and then that leads to some kind of a belief. I'm going to come back to that in a minute because it's a little bit more complicated than just sort of a notion or a thought. And then what I like to think happens next is we create a bit of a filter. And as you can see, this is a bit of a cycle. So what's the filter? The filter influences how I respond the next time. So because we now have a belief that creates a filter, the next time I go into a meeting with that person, I may be a little bit more timid around that person. Because I didn't ask for a deal on that price, I may be less likely to ask for a deal the next time I go in because I think to myself, well, I'm not really very good at actually asking for that price. So this becomes this vicious cycle. You can think of it as a self-fulfilling prophecy. And in psychology, if you look at the work of, for example, Dr. Martin Seligman, who's really considered the father of positive psychology, he would say 3 things happen when you develop a belief. One is you think that it's permanent. So this is the way that I am. I will always be this way. It doesn't go away. You think of it as permanent. Secondly, you think of it as being personal. In other words, I am responsible for this. It's really not anybody else's fault, which actually kind of makes it even worse. And thirdly, you think of it as being pervasive. In other words, it's everywhere. So it's not just like this little belief or notion that I don't have confidence in the situation. It actually becomes this overwhelming thing that we wear as we go into the next situation. Obviously, that's not great. And obviously, that's going to impact everything that we do. And what we start to do then is we start to say to ourselves, well, we start to say that I'm not good at that, or these situations make me uncomfortable, or these sort of people make me uncomfortable. And so what happens now is it's influenced our behavior in a nanosecond, all because of confidence. We lost that confidence. Well, it's not like I can go to the store and buy more confidence. It's not like I can actually read a book and get more confidence. I believe you have to do things to get more confidence. So I like to think of confidence as actually being something like my car. Now, I drive a 2006 little diesel Volkswagen, and actually my oldest daughter just crashed our old one, so I replaced it. We have a newer car that my wife drives, but I love this old diesel. I just like the way it feels. But the reality is, you know, a car, you can drive it forever and ever and ever, and it maybe looks good on the outside, but the inside needs maintenance. And that's how I think of confidence. It's like on the inside. I can kind of fake it. I can kind of get by. People can kind of see me as, quote, successful. But the reality is I need to take care of what's going on inside, just like with my car. And what's going on inside is my belief system. And that belief system is going to influence how I respond every time I get into a new situation. Now, on my end, just to take a quick break here, on my end, I'm seeing that we're not getting the visuals. If you can see the visuals, you can see these slides, just let me know in the Q&A. That would be great before I go on any further. Just go up in the Q&A and just say, I can see it, if you can see the slides, because at my end, we can't, and I'm just wondering if you can actually see it. So, nope, you can't see it. Okay, right. Well, I'm going to keep on chatting because I want to stay on time. So I'm sorry about that, and we're going to do our best to just keep working our way through it. The content is what's important, and the visuals, we can send them to you afterwards. So I apologize. There's some kind of glitch, but just listen to my voice, and I'll walk you through it. Now, I'm going to lead you through 12 ways to build more confidence, and these actually require you doing something. So again, I don't find that I can actually develop more confidence by thinking about it or hoping for it or reading motivational books. I actually have to do something. And just recently, if you haven't seen it, I'd really encourage you to go watch the TED Talks by Amy Cuddy. That's C-U-D-Y. And Amy has this very powerful, super popular TED Talk, which actually shows that through empirical studies, they can actually prove that doing things in a positive way, for example, positive posing, like sort of like the Superman pose or the Oprah pose, or like walking confidently into a room, actually can change the way your body responds. So rather than fake it till you make it, she actually says fake it till you become it. Because what she's found through her studies is you can actually increase the testosterone, which is a confidence type hormone in your body, by as much as 8% by taking on a power pose. You can also reduce the cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone, by as much as 25% in your body by taking on a power pose. So for example, uncrossing your legs, uncrossing your arms, sitting up straight, leaning forward. When you go to greet people, greet them at your full height and actually reach out confidently. And when you take these kind of moves, you actually can change your physiology. I listened recently to a wonderful interview with George St. What is the name of that wrestler that we all know? The Canadian, George St. Pierre, on Jian Ghomeshi on CBCQ. And, you know, this is one of the world's top UFC fighters. And what he talked about was the pose that he takes on as he approaches the ring. It was really fascinating. He deliberately goes into a certain pose and walk and stance as he approaches the ring, because what he needs to do in those last few minutes before he faces his opponent is he needs to get his body into the right physiology so he can fight, but he also needs to get his mind. So again, fake it till you become it. So he uses the way that he moves to actually influence the way that he fights. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through 12 ways to increase your confidence. I hope you have your pens ready. Here we go. Number one is, it's going to sound silly, dress better. I think that the way you dress, the way you show up, the way you take care of yourself, and grooming as they call it, actually makes a difference. I feel more confident when I step on stage looking good in a suit. And I remember that wonderful movie with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, Rain Man, where they come down the escalator in their snappy new suits. And there's just something, a way that they're standing and they're posed, that just exudes confidence. And a lot of it comes from the fact that they look good. Like they know they look good. They know that they maybe look even a little bit better than everyone around them. So what goes with dressing better, I believe, is also getting rid of old stuff that does not make you feel confident. So if you got like a baggy old pair of jeans, they may be super comfortable, but they may not be actually serving you. Number two is to set a small goal and achieve it. And it could be something small, but the research is pretty overwhelming. When we set small goals and achieve them, we actually feel more confident the next time we set a goal. So it could be 1 week without cookies. It could be getting up earlier. It could be going for 0 inbox on your email every week. And here's a simple one. Clean your desk every week. That's your goal. So every week you want to have a clean desk when you show up for work. And that's going to require some effort and a little bit of, maybe some new strategies around finding places for things. But I can guarantee you will feel differently when you achieve that small goal. Number 3, don't fight back. It's a great line that I use a lot in my relationship training, which is the fastest way to change someone is for you to go first. And what I mean by that is if you want to change the experience you're having with someone, and particularly when you're having a bit of an argument, the fastest way to do that is to simply don't fight back, is to just actually, hold your breath or breathe a few times and delay before you actually say anything. And this is, sure, it's a strategy, and yes, you're going to have to use a lot of self-control, but I think what you're going to find is that by overcoming your natural instincts, that you're actually going to feel more confident in the situation. Okay, number 4, do something small really well. Now, this could be anything. The example I just gave when we started was my SlideShare. When I started on SlideShare, which is a way to share slideshows with people, I put them together, and I thought I put some care and attention. But the last 3 SlideShares, I just put a couple more hours into them. I put some effort into making sure that they really graphically were really attractive, and they have absolutely taken off, like 10,000, 20,000, 22,000 for one of them views, and enormous downloads. And I think it's because I just took a little bit of extra effort. Okay, number 5 is to fix something. Now, here's a quick example. This summer I noticed that the door that we use all the time at our house to go outside was just kind of getting a little wonky. It was a little loose, and of course you notice it every time you grab the door. And I thought about it, and then every time I grab the door, I think, well, I should fix that. You've all been there, so you think about it, you don't actually do it. And one day I just grabbed a screwdriver, and in about 5 minutes I tightened up the doorknob, and done. Like I fixed it. And so what is it that you could, and my point is that every time I went through that door, I actually felt better about that door because I had removed that nagging, disturbing reminder. So what is it that you could fix? Well, it could be learn a shortcut on your computer for something that you do all day long, like on Word or Excel. Just take 5 minutes, go on YouTube or whatever you got to do, learn a little shortcut so it's going to make you more efficient. Create a template for something, especially if you're delegating something. Write up a routine for how you do something so the next time you come back you're going to know how to do it. So just look for something that's kind of a nagging bother, something that comes up periodically, and fix it and feel better because you fixed it. Okay, number 6, get your money in order. You know, I remember going to see a financial planner earlier this year, and he said, well, before we meet, if you could just send me kind of an update on what you got, you know, where are your assets and, you know, what's your debt and this sort of stuff. And I said, no problem. And like 10 minutes later, I sent him an Excel spreadsheet, and he called me up and he said, well, this is incredible. I normally never see something like this. And I explained to him that every quarter I make a big effort to get in there and update that spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet shows me everything from passive income to rental income to operating expenses to net assets. And it's basically, it's my, you know, I guess dashboard of how I am doing financially. And to me, it gives me a lot of confidence to know that I've got a grip on it. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, I'm debt-free or that I'm the richest guy in town, but what it does mean is that I've got confidence to know where my money goes that I work so hard to earn. Number 7, read a book to make you smart. So here's some great books that I really highly recommend. And my point here is that, you know, we love, hopefully everybody on this call loves to read, but you should once in a while pick books that just, you read them for no other reason because it makes you smarter. Like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. You know, it might be 100 years old, but it's still got amazing advice in it. Read the biography of Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. It's a thick book, but it reads like a novel. Read The Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg. So a whole list of, read Malcolm Gladwell's books, almost any of Malcolm Gladwell's or Daniel Pink. And I don't know about you, but I just feel smarter reading books like that. Number 8 is to keep promises. So this is a huge one for me. I used to think that, you know, not keeping promises was just, well, it's because I was such a busy, important guy. And I came to realize through basically a lot of, you know, experimentation that actually keeping promises develops more pride and more confidence. And so now, for me, like picking up my kids and being there 10 minutes early actually gives me more confidence. And it's kind of a funny thing because I don't see where there could be any, you know, sort of direct correlation between keeping a promise and confidence, but somehow it just makes me feel better next time I make a promise, knowing that in the past I was really good at keeping them. Okay, so let's stop right there. I've thrown 8 at you. I got 4 more to go. If you can go in the Q&A box real quick, just tell me which one of those is one that you know you can work on starting right now. Which one of those? You can either just give me the number or you can tell me the title. So I'll go over them again. So they were dress better, set a small goal and achieve it. Go ahead and type those in now. Don't fight back, do something small really well, fix something, get your money in order, read a book to make you smart, or keep promises. All right, so Brad says fix something. Cynthia, get your money in order. Nathan, money in order. Maureen, number 7, which was read a book to make you smart. Okay, Maureen, you have to email me which book you're going to read. Janice, get your money in order. Annalise, don't fight back. This is great. Oh, I love this. So everybody's got one already. Brian says number 5. So what number 5 was, let's see, fix something. Okay, Brian, so you got to email me which thing you're going to go and fix, okay, so I can hold you accountable. All right, awesome. Let's go on to number 9. So here we go. Number 9. So again, this is all in the spirit of if I do something, I will break that vicious cycle that we talked about earlier, and I will have a new cycle which is based on confidence. Number 9 is learn a new skill. So I've blogged about this and talked about it a lot, but last couple of summers I've been learning how to ride the unicycle, and even though it seems kind of trivial on the surface, it's really been amazing. Oh, I think we're losing our visual again. Sorry about that. We're going to get this fixed. But it's been a great discipline builder for me and a great source of confidence. But it's not just the, you know, learning to ride the unicycle is kind of neat. It's actually setting a goal to learn a new skill and then going out and learning it. So right now I'm actually working on a really simple one, which is to learn to memorize songs that I play on my guitar, because it's always been a big frustration for me. I like playing the song, but for some weird reason I'm not good at memorizing them, so I'm working on that. My question for you is, whether it's yoga or Tai Chi or meditation or it's speed reading or whatever, what is it that you could set for yourself as a goal for learning a new skill, and just go and do it. Whether it's a language or whatever, it's the skill is important. Obviously, hopefully you're going to pick one that is valuable, but it's more the discipline of setting that goal to learn the new skill and then actually going out and putting the effort in. That, to me, is what builds confidence, knowing that we have the ability to do that and not waiting until we're like 70 or 80, but doing it right now. Number 10 is remembering names. For me, this is such an important one and also such a challenge. And I find now I've got to write them down. All the other tricks don't work anymore. I got to write them down. But if I do and rehearse them, it makes all the difference. It's just like studying for an exam. You write it down. You repeat it a few times in your mind. The next time you see the person, you're going to be much more likely to be able to recall that name. And it's also a great confidence builder to be able to, repeat that name when you go in. I was driving my daughter to school this morning, and she said, I want to get a special coffee for a friend that's having a birthday at school. Can we go by the local coffee shop? Great. So I went in there, and I saw the store owner. She's a super friendly lady, and I thought to myself, you know what? I know she's told me her name like a month ago. I haven't been in there since. I'm not going to have this uncomfortable feeling. I'm just going to say, hey, you know what? I forgot your name. What is it again? She told me her name, and it's Mindy. And so I thought, that's fantastic. We had a great chat around her name and her sister's name and why her parents gave her a name like Mindy. And, it's kind of cool, right? So now I wrote it down on my phone. I put in the name of the cafe. I put in her name, and now I'm going to make an effort every time I go in there to use her name. And I know that just reinforces it. But also, it's just a small thing, but it helps to build confidence. Okay. Number 11, exercise more consistently. The research shows that you're far better off to exercise more consistently, even if it's a short amount of exercise done correctly, than to exercise in big bursts. I'm always kind of roll my eyes when I hear about people that went out and ran a half marathon without any training, or a marathon, with just very light training. And you're better off to actually do something every day. So my goal every day is to have 1 hour of exercise, and that's a lot. But for me, that's what makes me feel healthy and energetic. But for you, 20 minutes of good energetic exercise would be enough. And one of the goals, by the way, for proper exercise should be that you, just a little trick for you, 60 to 65% of your maximum heart rate. So your maximum heart rate is going to be 220 minus your age. So 220 minus your age. So for me, 220 minus my age is going to be about 165, something like that. That's my max, and then I take 60% of that, which is going to be about 100. So I should be exercising at about 100 beats per minute, and that actually is at the level that my body's actually going to have to rebuild itself. So I just threw a whole book at you right there, but the basic idea is figure out what 60 to 65% of your maximum heart rate is, okay, and your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age, and that's what you should be exercising at. So if you walk a dog in the morning, just walk a little bit faster. If you get on your treadmill or a stationary bike, just pedal a little bit faster. Check your heart rate, and you should be in that zone. Okay, down to the last one, my favorite, which we're going to talk about a little bit more than all the rest, is to change a habit. The research is pretty cool on this. Dr. Kelly McGonigal in the Willpower Instinct talks about this a lot, but also Charles Duhigg in the Power of Habits. And that is that when you create a habit in one area, even something that seems inconsequential, like, for example, using your non-dominant hand to shake people's hands or to open doorknobs or to eat with, or not saying yeah or other slang, when you change a habit, you actually encourage other habits to change. And so, for example, when people were asked to write down everything that they ate for 2 weeks, they smoked less, drank less alcohol, and actually ate better and exercised more, even though they weren't asked to do any of those 4 things. So when you develop a habit in one area of your life, a good habit, by the way, when you develop a good habit in one area of your life, what happens is you get more willpower, and that willpower leads to more habits. And I believe it also leads to more confidence, because confidence comes from success. whether it's not fighting back or cleaning my desk or exercising more consistently, that builds confidence. So my last tip, and perhaps my most important tip, which we're going to go into a bit more detail, is develop a new habit this week, like literally this week. And it could be, again, something like I drink less coffee, I drink more water during the day, so I switch over to water earlier than I normally do. Rather than going for a cookie in the afternoon, I go for a walk in the afternoon. I clean my desk before I go home. I leave for appointments 10 minutes early to reduce stress. I remove all Post-it notes and I put them into one list. I respond to people within the day. Every week I have a goal to learn a new skill. Like whatever that habit is, I go to sleep 30 minutes earlier, I get up 30 minutes earlier. Like whatever that new habit is, what magically starts to happen is as you practice that habit, you'll actually develop other strong habits. Okay, so I want to talk more about habits, but before I do, let's just jump on the Q&A again, folks. So which of the last 4 can you start to work on? And those were learn a new skill, remember names, exercise consistently, or change and create a new habit. Go ahead, jump in the Q&A just for a minute. Which of those 4 can you work on right away? So Nathan says change a habit. Oh, Michelle says I wouldn't mind learning to play the guitar. Hey, Michelle, me too. I meant properly. James says new skill in remembering names. Mary Lou says remembering names. Nadine said, where's Nadine? Oh, there you go. Change a habit. Work on being on time. Exercise consistently. Adele. Remember names. This is great. I love this. Cynthia said number 10, which is remember names. Brad. Ed says exercise more consistently. Brad said remember names. Great. Okay. Thanks, everybody. All right. Now, so we got about 19 minutes left, and what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about how habits work, because this is a really fascinating area of research that I've been spending a lot of time on in the last 2 years. So we might be losing our visuals again here. But before we do that, I am going to give you a special announcement at the end for my Time Freedom Formula online course, which has been super successful this year, and I want to just give you a discount on that program, and also I'm going to throw in a little treat for you on that program at the end, but I'll tell you more about that at the end, so stick around. Okay, so the question is, how do you turn confidence building into a habit? So I've thrown pretty quickly 12 things at you, and if you're on this call, by the way, we will be sending you a quick summary of the call. Now, I've thrown 12 things at you. Well, how do I turn that into a habit so I don't have to really think about it, So if I want to exercise more consistently, I don't want to have to think about that every day because that's exhausting. If I want to, for example, be on time or clean my desk or remember names or get my money, I don't want to have to think about that. All right, well, there's a certain science behind developing new habits, which if you understand it is extremely powerful because it applies to all areas of your life. All right, so here's how the science works. There's 4 steps to go through every time you want to create a new habit. The first one is you ask yourself, what's the unwanted routine? So what is it that I do now I don't want to do anymore? So for example, overeating. I eat too much and then I just don't feel good, or I always want to order dessert, or I'm drinking coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 9 o'clock at night and I don't like it, or I'm procrastinating about something like exercise or doing the dishes, or procrastinating about buying that present for the friend or getting that report done, whatever it is. I don't like that. Well, before you go and replace it, which is the old way of doing it, everybody used to say, well, just go get a new habit. Before you do that, you got to ask yourself a question, and that is, what's the reward that I get by doing that routine? So there's always a reward for every routine. It seems really strange. It seems strange that procrastination could give me a reward. It seems strange that not going for exercise could actually give me a reward. It seems strange that not remembering names could give me a reward, or that being late to pick up my daughter could give me a reward. But if you think about it, there's always a reward. Let's go through them. Okay, forgetting names. Well, I'm so busy, my mind is so full of important stuff. Gosh, it's too hard to remember names. That's the reward. I get justification for my belief. Being late for my daughter. Well, my work is so important. I do my best to be a great dad, but gee whiz, I'm so stretched. It's the best I can do. That's the reward. I get justification for a belief. Procrastination on exercise. Well, it gives me a chance to hang out and watch a bit more whatever, YouTube or something like that. Oh, sorry, we're losing our visual again. This is getting to be a bad habit, ironically. Okay, let's go through them. So step 3 is to develop the new routine. So now I've identified what the reward I'm getting is. Well, that gives me a clue as to why I do it. I go for that cookie at 2:30 in the afternoon because I want to get a sugar rush. I don't feel good afterwards. My stomach doesn't feel good, but something keeps motivating me to go down the street and buy that cookie. All right, next is number 3 is I've got to develop a new routine. So I have to actually replace the old habit with a new habit. Okay, that's fine. So now I have to come up with something different. So instead of walking down the street to buy a cookie, I'll just simply go for a walk. Or I'll go and talk to somebody, and then I'll come back to my desk. Instead of rushing to go meet my daughters to pick them up after school or their lesson or work or whatever, I'll just leave 10 minutes earlier. Now, I'm going to be sitting in my car or whatever waiting, but now I avoid all the discomfort and the bad karma that comes from being late and seeing the expression on her face and all that sort of stuff. So my new routine is I leave 10 minutes earlier. Step 4 is I actually go and I reward the new routine. So now I have to pat myself on the back, cross it off the list, notice that my stomach doesn't feel so sick. I have to reward myself by creating some kind of a payoff that's better than the old reward. You see, this is the way it works. So the reason why a lot of people don't, plan for the future, they don't save money, they don't take care of their body, they don't take care of their house, they don't do a lot of things, is because they don't understand the payoff they're getting by not doing. What they think is, oh no, I just have to come up with a better way of doing it. I have to come up with a better solution. But that's not it. First of all, you got to understand, why do you do what you do? Why do you stay up so late? Well, there must be a reward. Oh, sure. I say to myself, I deserve this. I say to myself, I'll sleep better afterwards. I say to myself, it's only going to be 10 minutes. And an hour later, I've watched the whole show. So we have some kind of reward that we're getting by our unwanted behavior. You've got to identify that first before you can nail steps 3 and 4, new routine, better reward. Okay, here's some quick examples. Let's suppose that I let small things bother me. That's the routine I don't like. I'm driving home. I'm going through this little movie in my mind of what happened today. I'm being irritated by my own behavior. I'm feeling like I kind of blew it, and I don't like that. I want to create divisions in my life between what happened an hour ago and what I'm going to go in. When I walk into my house, I want to feel present. I don't want to be thinking about that. Okay, what's the reward? It justifies me being busy. So me thinking over and over again about little things and worrying justifies being busy. What it says to me is, gosh, you're such a busy person, you can't let it go. And maybe you read somewhere that this is what really important people do, or you saw successful people being worried all the time and you thought, yeah, that kind of comes with the territory. Step 3 will be, if you're sick of that routine, is to stop, fix whatever is bothering you, and then move on. So for example, you're at home, right? And you see that, I noticed that there was no soap upstairs, right? And I thought, well, everybody's busy in my house. Nobody's bought soap, and I like soap, So I just go out and buy soap, and I put it in I don't have to say anything to anybody. I just fix it, and I move on. I see my doorknob is loose. I fix it. I move on. I see something at work that's overdue. I just fix it, and I move on. So that's my new routine, is to, as best as I can, deal with stuff right away, especially if it's under just a couple of minutes, and then move on. Now, how do I make it sticky? I have to reward it. So I cross it off my list, my mental list or my physical list, and I say to myself, done. I got it done, done. Now I can move on. It's one less thing that's nagging away, that's bothering me. Okay, let's do another quick example. I skip my exercise days. So I say to everybody, I exercise 3 times a week. I go for a run 3 times a week. The reality is I go 2 times a week. Well, that's not going to work, so I'm sick of that. Well, first of all, I have to understand what's the reward I get by skipping. Oh, well, I feel my work is more important. So there I am, I'm working away, and the time is getting closer and closer and closer. I should be going, oh, you know what? I'm just going to send a few more emails. I'm just going to work a little bit longer on this, book, report, proposal. So that does not work. I understand why I do it. It's because it makes me feel like my work is more important than my health. My new routine is I get up 1 hour earlier, and it's all me time. it's for writing, it's for exercising, it's for reading, it's for sipping tea or really good black coffee, whatever. That's my new routine. How do I make it sticky? I need to realize and recognize I get better energy all day long. Okay, one last example, and then we're going to move on. This is example number 3. I let clutter build up in my life. Okay, I don't like it. It distracts me. It forces my brain to multitask. What's the reward? It keeps me busy, which makes me feel important. Kind of weird, but that's sometimes the way the mind works. Wow, I'm so busy, I can't take care of this. Boy, oh boy, maybe when I get through this project, then I'll have time to clean this all up. Well, the reality is that something else is going to come up. Okay, better routine. I spend 5 minutes at least every week. I clean it up. Better reward. I feel less distracted. Like, I love it. Right now, I've got papers all over in front of me because I'm doing this webinar. I've got all my notes. But as soon as this webinar is done, those papers all go away, and I am back down to my to-do list for today and my flight plan for the week. And that makes me feel confident. Okay, my friends, here's the best question I can ask all day through this webinar, and here it is. What is a habit that you want to change? Okay, real quick, 90 seconds in the Q&A. What's a habit that you want to change? Just think about all the stuff I've been talking about here in the last, 35 minutes. What's a habit that you want to change? Just pop that in, and then I'm going to talk about a special offer that I have for you that I think you're going to really like. So what's a habit that you want to change in the Q&A box? Okay, Keith says, hey Keith, nice to see you on here. So Keith says reading emails. Let's see, we've got Adele says uncluttering. I love that one. That is a huge one. Cynthia says staying up late at night. A lot of people have fallen into that trap. Barb says build up clutter. Jasmine says rushing and being late. Lynette says get up 1 hour earlier. Herb says stop procrastinating. Brad says clean up. Hey, I like this. Sylvie says take more time for myself instead of working all the time. Here's the kind of cool thing about doing that is you'll have more to give to the work. Nathan says spreading myself too thin. Derek says agree, not staying up late. For all of you that said not staying up late, I'm going to give you a little bit of a trick that I use. There comes a decision point. For me, it's at around 10 o'clock. I like to be in bed by 10 o'clock, 10:15 at the latest. I like to read for a few minutes, fall asleep, and get up at 5. I need about 7 hours of sleep, and that really works for me. But the trick is that at about 10 o'clock, I know what's going to start to happen. I'm going to think of all the things I still want to get done. And I'm also going to say to myself, I just want to watch like a documentary or something like that. And I know I'm going to regret it in the morning. So at that decision point, I write down what I'm going to do in the morning. That's the little trick I've learned. So I write down what am I going to do in the morning. So for example, this morning it was prep, the final prep for the webinar. I needed to reply to a subcontractor I'm working with. I wanted to send him some information. I had like 3 things I wanted to get done before 7. Then at 7 o'clock, even though it was raining here in Kelowna, which was so unusual, everybody came out to look at it. Just kidding. I went outside with my dog. We had a good workout for about, we had 35 minutes, and then I went and did some weights. So I had it all written down. That little trick of writing down my morning routine is what gets me into bed. Because now I go, okay, that's it, closure. I've already made my plan for the morning. That's off my mind. I don't have to think about it. Off to bed, go read for a few minutes, fall asleep. So that's a little trick I'll share with you. Okay, so here's what I want to share with you now in the last remaining minutes that we've got. First of all, I want to thank you for being on the call. Really, really appreciate you being here with me. And I know it's only 45 minutes, but I know I'm covering stuff that people normally put 300 pages into a book about. But I just find that if I can offer something valuable in 45 minutes that helps people to move forward in their life and their success, then it's worthwhile for me to do it. Now, I created earlier this year a really cool online course called Time Freedom Formula. It's been super successful, and it's all about how to discover how to be more effective by changing how you think, plan, and act. And it's a summary of all of my best time management training and research and speeches all into 7 modules. So it's 1 week, 7 modules, and it's about 15 minutes per day. So you watch a video of me for about 15 minutes where I teach you all the best skills that I've learned over, 18 years of researching this and including writing my bestseller book. So there's 7 video lessons. There's a 20-page workbook that comes with it. You can have MP3 recordings with it you can download, so you can listen to it as you're out walking and running. And there's also a graduate forum where the graduates in the program, the people that are participating, actually write comments and I write back. So that's really a cool way for me to see people's progress. It's super easy. You do it on your own time. People are saying great things about the program, lots of great tools that have already been impacted the way I'm working. Finally organized my office and created a new system to file my paperwork. Focusing on the flight plan and day plan has really helped me to get things done. That alone, the flight plan, day plan explanation, is a game changer for people that take this program. Now, normally this is $197. That's the regular price. If you go to thetimefreedomformula.com, it's going to be $197, and that's the price we sell this program at. But for webinar attendees, and we're going to have to put a limit on this, of course, but for webinar attendees, we take $50 off, but it's only for 24 hours. So for the next 24 hours, you can take advantage of it. But also what I'm going to throw in is a couple of things. So first of all, this is a full license. And I've only done this once before, but what that means is that anybody in your organization can also use this program. So that's pretty cool. So you can actually use the same login information for people just in your organization. So if you work with a colleague or you have a spouse that's involved or your kids or employees, this is a great way for you to share some really valuable tips and strategies. It's actually really a formula for how to get their time more organized, be more effective, show up better, and the whole section on habits is included as well. And including with the full license, I'm going to throw in a copy of my book, but also a copy of a new ebook, which is all about this webinar, how to build more confidence, 12 ways to build more confidence in just 5 minutes. So in the next couple of days, I'll be summarizing this webinar into that little ebook, and you're going to receive that as well. So to get that special offer, all you have to do is go to hughculver.com/TFF or go to thetimefreedomformula.com. So hughculver.com/TFF for the Time Freedom Formula or thetimefreedomformula.com, either one. And then use the code 50OFF, so 50OFF, so 50 off. And then you'll automatically get your price reduced, and then we'll also be triggered so that we know how to send you all of those goodies. All right, so there you go. I really hope you take advantage of it. It's only going to be the next 24 hours. Sorry about that. But I really hope you take advantage of it. It's my best stuff around how to be time effective and really get more of the right stuff done. And I think it's a game changer. Certainly the reaction, the feedback we're getting from people has been pretty cool. Just for something that is so convenient for them to take. They can take it at home. They can take it at work. The license lasts forever, so as soon as you log in, that initiates it, and it's good forever, and you can share it with people that you work with. Okay, so there you go. Listen, I want to thank you for being on this webinar. We've got more topics coming up in the future. About every 3 weeks I'll announce one. A couple of things. If you do want to know about the SOS program that I mentioned earlier for social media posting, it is going like hotcakes. People are really enjoying it. Just go to hughculver.com/SOS. Fill in that form, and I personally will get back to you. If you want to know about Time Freedom Formula, just go to hughculver.com/TFF, and then type in that code when it comes down to the bill payment, 50 off, and you will get your discount. All right, my friends, thanks for being on this call. I know we threw a lot at you. Sorry about the technical glitches, I don't know what's going on. It might be the fact that Kelowna hasn't seen rain in 3 months, that it's actually done something. But before we go, if you could just go one last time to the Q&A, and if you could just type in, so what is one thing that you're going to do right after this call, like in the next 24 hours? Of course, you're going to go and get Time Freedom Formula. We know that. But what are you going to do in terms of confidence building and your habits? So one last time, if you can go to the Q&A box, I would just love to see what you're going to be doing. Okay, so Cindy, yeah, we will add you to the mailing list. Thanks for suggesting that. We'll take care of that. So what are you going to be doing after the call? So Cindy. Okay, let's see. So we've got Maureen says, clean up my desk. Right on. Candy said, she says, organize my paperwork. That's a good one. Virginia said, I'm going to clean off my desk, develop a new habit, Teresa. Nice one. We got Cynthia says, learn a new habit. Brad says, hang 2 mirrors. What is it? Hang 2 mirrors for my wife. Nice. Man, you're going to be a hero. So Charlotte says exercise. Barb says creating a routine. Jerry says go to bed earlier. You will love that. Good time to get into that routine. We've got, Marion's on the call. Hey, Marion, clean my desk, reduce the clutter. Lynette says do some things on my to-do list. This is fantastic. Listen, everyone, we're right on time. Thank you so much for being on the webinar. Until we talk next time, be your best, see the best in others, and, hey, make it happen. We'll talk to you soon.